Hey guys, welcome to another patch tournament replay, best of 3. I think this is from the North American Open Cup, since most of the time the Europeans do not bother playing on the Korean Open Cup. And we do have a European here today. In the bottom left, it is From Gaming's MaxPax. And in the top right, it is Shopify Rebellion's Byun. So a best of 3 TVP. I got to see a decent amount of TVP for the European Open Cup, but it wasn't necessarily the most even at any point, actually. In fact, I think one of the most even games that I was able to see was Clem and... Oh, yeah, I already forgot the name, so that's my bad. But a player he would not usually expect to be... Eric Fire. There we go, Eric Fire. So, you know, many of you might not even know who that is, and that's kind of my point, is that Clem and Eric Fire had a great game number 2 that was more back and forth, but then ultimately still kind of ended one-sided. It was not the perfect both players of esteem and renown and equal skill. It was an underdog versus overdog story, and it's... Yet that was the only example I could think of 3 PvTs that even started to show a little bit of what could happen as far as the light touch that the patch wanted to do for the matchup. I see that there's 2 Raxes here, so I guess I should hurry up. But it didn't even show that much. And then we had what was hopefully going to be a very epic clash of the 2 races of people who compete against each other all the time, so on and so forth. And that was actually so much more one-sided. MaxPax demolished Clem. Now, that doesn't happen too often, and I don't believe this means MaxPax is just that much better than the guy, and I don't think it was the patch that changed it either, but it was not a good example of what possibly could be from this matchup as far as the changes for the patch. Again, something that I'll try to talk about when they appear and focus on if they really change how things are going. But Byun has already decided to try and take control of the early game with 2 Raxes. He has done absolutely 0 scouting. MaxPax, still pretty well known for the build, the MaxPax. Hasn't done one of those in a very long time. And even kind of shies away from doing the good old-fashioned proxy gate, with a gateway at home too. He actually is mostly to the mid-game aggressive build orders. Occasionally throwing in a 2-base 3 gateway opener into Twilight Robo, but that's not one of these games. So my point is that Byun, even if he was up against something super aggressive, he has units to combat that with. So basically saying that I'm the one that's going to be in control of this game almost no matter what. And he is certainly that, but being in control of the game doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to win it. So we'll see if the 2 Reapers can do a lot of damage. MaxPax with the actually very good scout, checked that bottom right, was able to scout it, respond to it with a shield battery in the main, not bother with building an adept that would have gotten shot and down to try to cross the map anyways. Just open up with a zealot that was not there to help, you know, stop the micro of the Reapers like sometimes it is. Just went across the map. So, you know, maybe pulls the Reaper back, maybe helps with this little engagement here. In this case, it does delay the natural command center and helps the Stalkers a little bit. 4 SCVs, 5 SCVs go down. Stalker's still alive, although getting unhealthier by the second. And only 2 probes have gone down on the other side of the map. So far so good on MaxPax's side. Ahead by 8 workers, which would not be so bad if we had 2 mules. We do not have 2 mules. We do have these 2 Reapers still alive. So as the Stalkers took all that damage from their engagement, the Reapers come in to shine. Oh, that was a Stalker that was just defending back at home from the get-go, so that was injured in that regard. These are the injured ones from the other side of the map. Everything's injured. And while Protoss units are known for being low quantity, high quality, the problem is you just don't have a lot of them in the very early game. So if they are weakened, sometimes it doesn't take a lot for the Terran to throw across the map to kind of get you. And that seems to be Byun's plan. He's going to go for a bit of the gotcha move. Plays you with 2 barracks. He went into 3 barracks, of course, but he has been building some Marines for a while. Stim is done, and he's just going to go right for that pylon. This is something that most Terrans would not be doing, and so the Protosses would not be expecting it. And MaxPax, with no way of really getting a follow-up scout, since he had to entirely retreat, the Stalkers would have been gunned down trying to still be on the offensive. He had no idea this was on the way, so he's just gonna die. Certainly has lost any lead from the early game, that's for sure. And yeah, I think just dies. So another best of 3 that starts off without showing anything about the patch. I think in this case, literally nothing, because he didn't even have a shield battery on the front line, and the shield battery in the main was not worth talking about. The recharge rate was reduced. It's a little less effective dealing with any of those burst pushes, but that's not what was the problem with the Reapers versus probes. It might have affected a defense here if there was a shield battery, but there wasn't. Again, MaxPax unable to see the follow-up coming, injured units, no anticipation. Kind of a bummer. That can happen in StarCraft 2. So let's go to game 2. Game 2 is going to be on Moondance. In the top left, it is Systrom Gaming's MaxPax. Bottom right, sending out an SCV. It is Byun. MaxPax was looking really good against mid and late game Terrans. He was even very tricky, going toe-to-toe in any sort of micro dance in any early game situations. But a lot of the Terrans he was facing weren't really pushing the issue in the early game. They were proxy raxing, but not double proxy raxing. And that's kind of, I think, the most aggressive thing that we saw. So even with that proxy rax that I'm thinking of, I think Clem equivalents to a different map, I want to say, put it over here. Might have been the same map, I don't actually remember. But now we have this super, super aggressive one. So basically what I'm trying to say is that no one really pushed MaxPax in the super early game, but that is something that kind of happened in the last game. He did go toe-to-toe with it. There was a nice dance that ended favorably for him until the follow-up was completely unscouted, which is just going to be a downside. It's something that MaxPax would have to admit he would not be able to figure out afterwards. Now, next time we see him in a similar situation, MaxPax might actually form at a depth just to get the scouting. He might send a probe across the map just to get that scouting, and that would have actually solved a lot of his problems. But there's only so many things you can account for in the game of StarCraft, both in the have I played against this category, but also in the do I remember what I did against this and what I should improve category. That's going to take a lot of games, which these guys do play, but even then, even they can make the mistakes or meet something new. So MaxPax does not know how proxied this barracks is. At the very least, stopping the... Oh, it's not a bunker's engineering bay. Stopping the engineering bay from being completely healthy is one portion of it. Zealot's going to come down to help, and now the Reaper's here, so the Reaper's going to be able to dance. Not going to go after the Zealot immediately, but rather pick up the probe, and then... Yeah, just focus on the probes in the main base. There really isn't any reason not to. The Zealot is going to have to take care of this engineering bay. It won't really help in the main base. And the Reaper just dances away, killing probably up to 4 probes. The Stalker's about to head out, but here's number 3. That was the one that tried to escape, but came back. Oh, it is going to be saved. Byun did go for a second Reaper, so again, I got to imagine that number will hit 4 at some point. But if we do stay on 2... that ain't bad. That is not bad. So we'll see. I guess since this has turned out okay-ish. It is a rather late natural for Protoss, but it's turned out okay-ish. Whether or not MaxPax, again, looks very strong in the mid-game. Byun followed that up with a factory. Very safe follow-up indeed. See him microing his mule there. And he's going to go into a 2-1. Now, this is Moondance, so the possibility of a mid-game tank push can be kind of high. MaxPax is going to opt to go into Stargate on this map, something that is rather unusual, but has not necessarily guaranteed a defense. That's a very tricky thing about the situation on Moondance. I don't think I've ever seen a Protoss player easy peasy handle any of the mid-game pushes. It's always been a bit of a struggle. It's always required knowledge of it, of course, scouting it, but then also knowledge of how to defend against it, so experience. And even then, sometimes the mechanics of it really are so tight that just one, even small mistake can send it spiraling out of control on the Protoss' side. So I think the last time I saw a Protoss, might have been MaxPax, go for this opener against what I believe is going to be that 3-1 dedicated attack, shall we say. It was that his Phoenix went across the map and were unable to return home in time. And they didn't do any like form of harassment or time buying either. So they were just basically in the wrong place at the wrong time, effectively quite useless, and the game ended rather abruptly. So let's hope that doesn't happen. I want to see a little bit more of the game. So far, again, nothing noteworthy for the patch. The shield battery is going to be probably the most important thing from the patch. Again, that recharge rate reduced from 200% to 150%. So it's a little less effective when trying to heal something up in a burst fashion. Basically the same if it's a very long sustained damage. That's not as bad. And then I guess maybe I have an observer. So observer is fatter, but also faster. Not usually what happens. And then we might see a sentry. A sentry build time has been reduced. So yeah, not sure we're gonna see any upgrades since the attack is going to be incoming very soon. MaxPax should be keen on this idea. He should basically first and foremost think, am I being all in? Check it, say yes, and then yeah, just not going to upgrades. So hey, we saw a sentry. That built faster, yes, nice. The upgrades are only, they're all less than 10 seconds buffed, so it's also not super impactful. So the Phoenix's job right now, not die, first of all. They died. But then also to buy time, and if they can pick off anything important, then absolutely do so, but it's not going to be worth losing one of your Phoenix. Maybe if it's like a tank or a Cyclone, it could be worth, but even then, it's kind of a... yeah. So tank, sure. But is it gonna get the tank? Okay, not gonna lose that second Phoenix. MaxPax has been preparing for this push, no doubt about it. Is gonna take more preparations as the push actually comes in. Kind of misses the opportunity for a perfect initial engagement, or did he? That force field still locked that third tank out, so that did die. And this other tank, the fourth tank bringing up the rear, is already injured, so... it doesn't look that bad. There's some promise here. Shield battery's gonna not save that sentry as the tank gets that shot off. And I am worried about the placement of the Robo. Yes, it instantly reinforces, but also is going to potentially be under fire, and this defense can last a long time. You know, a lot of games of StarCraft, if you're entering into the natural in that fashion, you're probably already dead. But against this particular push, we can even have the Protoss still win if they get pushed to their main base, depending on a certain situation, of course. But yeah, that's my concern. Disruptor as a response, not a bad idea. The issue would, of course, be getting to it, just because this is a relatively fast push. And so if you get to the Disruptor, you're not getting very much else. So you're definitely getting to a Twilight Council, for instance, so no charges on the way. Disruptor number 1 is not going to get any good shot, but it is going to survive. Overcharge was used, so that's gone for a while now. And Byun continues his advancement. SCVs done with building shit are now on the repair job. Building bunkers, building missile turrets. The Phoenix not going to be able to swoop in as carefree as they would like. 2 disruptors is the magic number for dealing with a tank. But if the tanks are spread out, then that's still a very long process to killing any decent number of units. MaxPax's disruptors, you know, if they could have gotten out very quickly and abused some of the choke, that, I mean, that probably is amazing. But when the terrain is already situated and continuing to rally tanks forward as well, I feel like disruptors start to lose their oomph. It'd be a very different story if they were accessories to the army, but they're basically almost core to the army here. Oh, okay, that disruptor almost got a beautiful shot, to be fair, but it didn't, and that's the most important thing. No disruptor shot really getting anything good. They still have a ton of Marines left over. They are going to be injured. They're not being healed up by medevacs, but that is a 2-base Protoss, only just now getting to a 3rd base, and Byun is also getting to his 3rd base. So the problems are still here. MaxPax might be able to technically hold, or maybe not, but he would still be behind in this game. And Byun is maybe gonna win with this, actually. Colossus is about to pop and is gonna one-shot many of these Marines. Phoenix still have energy, and there's still a decent number of them too, but They sacrifice one Phoenix for one tank. Colossus does go down. Oh, to Marines. That sucks. That sucks. And MaxPax is even further in trouble. I already said that he was. That was when he was behind 10 workers and had the promise of at least having a Colossus, but now he's down 20 workers, no Colossus, no upgrades, no Twilight Council upgrades, and about to be no Immortals. And only 2 Stalkers. The Phoenix are still alive, yes, but they have been out of energy at multiple points, so they're effectively out of the equation. And as the game continues on without MaxPax fully breaking out, he's still in trouble. The Phoenix, you know, they're not even really going to be able to find any counter. And even if they did, it's not going to be very much. The harassment units, they're not going to try and end the game. So even if they could go all willy-nilly, fly around the mineral lines, kill SCVs, kill Wood Mines, kill Marines, we're talking about 1 or 2 every 20 seconds. That's not going to be the same. It's not going to be enough. So yeah, great, Phoenix are alive, but they're not going to make up for a whole lot. If this was 6 Disruptors, well, I'd still say that MaxPax is pretty screwed because it'd be basically only Disruptors and a couple Liberators would ruin his day. But, you know, at least that has a little bit more punch. That has the idea of maybe Byun getting overconfident and running into Disruptors still being a possibility. Phoenix, even if he ran into Phoenix, like, is that even a thing? Wouldn't really matter. So TLDR, MaxPax is pretty screwed. The shield battery recharge rate maybe hurt him a little, but I think overall the game plan was a bit shaky. The situation was already shaky, and nothing else impacted this game. Could these sentries tickle this tank? Oh. Did you get the kill? Oh, you didn't even get the kill. Oh, no! Save the sentry! Okay. And save the Marauder, apparently. Byun has been building up. His starport was quite late, even when you consider the opener that he did. It still was quite late. I think he got 4th or 5th barracks and then starport. And that is going to be it. As soon as he saw the follow-up engagement. It's like, yep, okay, GG. All right, so nothing really truly super back and forth, showcasing High Templar, Disruptor, Carrier, and Forge upgrades, or anything like that. Did we even have an Observer? I don't think we did. And the Terran never had to really use Ghosts. So, yeah. No Raven rework either, which we might see in a more typical TVP. Yeah. Well, this is kind of what one would expect from the early stages of a patch. Even one that is supposed to be a light touch can sometimes eventually change things in a big way. I would say this was mostly intending to be a light touch with some key reworks on the more boring aspects of StarCraft 2. That was basically their plan. Obviously, there's enough here that I think it could determine something very different in the future. It could change things up. What we usually see is no matter how big or small the patch is we don't see much change in the first month. In the first however many major tournaments even. We might see something very different come Katowice because people will have been experimenting with it before it's even out, then experimenting with it when it's out and on the ladder, so consistently experimenting with it, and we'll see people build specific strategies. But as far as the very early days, you're talking about people who are mostly just going to find that it's best to stick to what they know. It's not going to be a big enough deal of any of these tournaments, frankly, to actually think of something new and then showcase it before a bigger tournament. Just so many different reasons why you wouldn't really see a whole lot of differences. But I was hoping for maybe a little bit more in the PvT. I just haven't really gotten a really epic, long back and forth one yet. So maybe some of the other replays in this folder will accommodate. But that's it for now. So again, any thoughts on the patch, feel free to post them in the comments below. Please like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you for more StarCraft very soon.